Hi, my name is Sherry Cizek. I've been teaching art since 1987. I've been teaching craft since before the turn of the century. And so when everything went tennis shoes in the air, this last spring, I started chiming in on some message boards, trying to help people who were asking for help. And I started getting so many emails and such, more than I could answer, that I decided it might make sense just to make some videos. Hopefully this will be useful to somebody. I'm putting a channel on YouTube, so if you all have videos that you want to make or things that you want to say in video form, I just feel like this would be a good place to start a conversation about something that could be perceived as really difficult to teach when we're not in school every day or sometimes at all, depending on what phase we're in. So yeah, here we go. We need to see this as a creative opportunity, as our opportunity to show kids, to demonstrate to kids what it looks like when you are confronted with a creative problem to solve. And it's really, really not all that bad, guys. If you try not to think about it in the way that it's always been thought about. You know, there's a real danger, especially with teachers who are experienced, that I know what I do and I know what I'm comfortable doing, but now what do I do? So just remember that making crafts from home is not new. We've been doing it since the caveman era. You know, if you just think, we've got stuff, all we have to do is look around and find stuff, right? We don't want to make junk, but we can use the junk we have to make art. I know that I usually have just a general sort of a paper sculpture unit, followed by textiles, followed by jewelry and metalwork, followed by printmaking. And so, yeah, when all of this went wrong, I was like, well, how am I supposed to teach textiles? These guys tell me they have pencils and paper at home and nothing else. Bear in mind that I'm in a pretty impoverished district, so I couldn't say, go out and buy pretty much anything. But it doesn't mean that we don't actually have these things around, right? We made baskets using strips of fabric that if you don't have fabric, you can cut up old rags, anything you got. And using grocery bags as coiling core. We did metal work. Kids were making jewelry out of paper clips, and we did metal embossing, cutting open aluminum cans, using a dead pen as an embossing tool, and there was really some pretty stuff that was made. So we actually do have fibers, we actually do have metals, we actually do have printmaking supplies. It's just a question of how we can take the things that are available to us and to the kids and use those not to just make crafts, but to make art, to make things that have meaning and value and personal expression. So yeah, I think what we need to do is go back to my caveman friend here and think about, and this is really authentic, if we're teaching craft and we start with, you know, all the way back in history, and we think about the development of craft, we can follow that to teach an authentic and enriching and substantial craft course even now. So if we look at humankind's development of craft, it starts with technique, right? Our little caveman figured out how to, or cavewoman, figured out how to start to weave branches together to make a basket, or how clay in the fire would start to perform a container, or how to stitch cloth together to make clothing or tents. It all began with technique. And then after technique, I need to scrunch down here. After technique, then we have to look at form and function. Well, yeah, you know, that makes a cloth thing that will cover me, but how could I make it more functional? How could I improve the form of that basket or that pot so that it does what it's supposed to do in a better way? So we start with technique and then we learn form and function. And think about anything that you could be teaching your kids with. If I'm starting with a unit on paper sculpture, usually I have a nice variety of papers for the kids to use in my classroom so that they can get a feel for different things. But they have a variety of papers at home too, right? Everything from newspapers to magazines to junk mail, right? To paper bags from the grocery store. Have them start to look at the materials in their world that they can use to practice techniques that we can teach and to create forms, and then to think about how to make those forms have a better function. And after we've got technique and form and function, then we need to think about design. Okay, I've got the technique down, it has good function, the form does what I need it to do, but now how can I make it aesthetically pleasing? How can I make it more beautiful? And so then we get into the elements and principles of design, and we start to think about, in this basket, how can I create an area of emphasis? How can I create movement that will lead your eye around this textile piece? And then, there we go. And from design, then we'll start to talk about expression. How have artists always created expression in their work? How can I take these materials and use it as a way to make personal expression? And once I've achieved that, boom, we're in fine craft, which is where we wanted to go in the first place. So we're going to start, we're just going to reinvent the wheel. How about that? We're going to start all the way back with the idea that humans have always used what's in their surroundings to make art. And then we'll talk about techniques, form and function, design, finally expression, and hopefully move into some fine craft. On this channel, I'm going to continue to put up videos. Some will be like this that are more philosophically based for art teachers so that we can kind of wrap our heads around what we're doing here. And some will just be, here's how I usually teach paper sculpture techniques, so that those of you who are perhaps new to this, I know I was emailing at least one person who, God love her, this is her first year teaching craft. If I just put my little how-to videos out there, you can use them with your students, just don't sell them. I'm not making any money on this, so I would ask that you not make money off me. But yeah, I'm looking down the road at retirement somewhere down there, and I might as well take everything that I've learned and leave something good to the people that are still going to be doing this once I'm locked in my studio making art all day. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.